We live in the era of right now. We are surrounded by a culture that has declared war on waiting. Instant food, immediate results, replies in seconds, success before 30. We have turned speed into a measure of worth and waiting into a symptom of failure. If something doesn't happen immediately, we feel like we're wasting time, or worse, that life is leaving us behind. You know that anxiety that kicks in when the elevator takes 10 seconds too long, or when someone doesn't reply to your message instantly? That pressure in your chest isn't just impatience. It's the noise of a society that has convinced you that you have control over time. But time, like the weather or the flow of a river, doesn't answer to your orders. In the East, there's a way of seeing the world that understands that waiting isn't an empty space between two events. It isn't an annoying pause. It's what we might call active patience. It's not sitting around watching life go by. It's preparing yourself in silence for the moment you finally need to act. Today, we're going to look at how master craftsmen, quiet gardeners, and legendary warriors understood time. We're going to dismantle that rush that exhausts you and discover that sometimes the fastest way to get where you want is, ironically, learning not to run. Active patience tells us something we've forgotten. Patience hurts. It isn't a pleasant, relaxed feeling. It's the ability to keep your heart calm, even when the pressure is extreme, even when you feel the sharp edge of life brushing against your neck. In the West, we often think being patient means being passive, letting people walk all over you, or just giving up. In this school of thought, it's the exact opposite. It's the resilience of someone who knows that if they move on impulse, they'll get cut. Patience is the discipline of not reacting, so that you can, eventually, act with total precision. How many times have you ruined an opportunity by speaking too soon? How many times have you abandoned a project because the results didn't show up in the first week? Patience is the space you create between a situation and your response. And in that space is where your freedom lives. There is a story often told about a specific type of giant bamboo. It's a lesson in humility for anyone obsessed with visible progress. When you plant the seed of this bamboo, you water it and care for it, but nothing happens during the first year. Not a single sprout comes out of the ground. In the second year, still nothing. In the third and fourth, the ground remains untouched. Anyone who didn't know the nature of this plant would think the seed was dead, that they had wasted their time and energy on something sterile. You water it, you care for it, and the soil looks exactly the same. Nothing visible, nothing to prove your effort is working. But beneath the soil, something massive is happening. The plant is developing a root system that is strong, deep, and capable of holding up what comes next. And then, when it finally emerges, the growth is staggering. It can grow nearly 80 feet in just 6 weeks. Did it grow 80 feet in 6 weeks? No. It grew 80 feet in 5 years and 6 weeks. During that time of apparent inactivity, the bamboo was doing something invisible but vital. It was building a foundation deep enough to support the explosive growth that followed. Your life works the same way. Those times when you feel like you aren't moving forward, when you feel stuck despite your effort, those are your underground years. You are creating your roots. If the bamboo tried to grow without that base, it would collapse with the first wind. Active patience is understanding that what is invisible is what sustains what is visible. You aren't wasting time. You're building the foundation of your future success. If you ever visit a contemplative garden in Kyoto, you'll notice there is no rush in its design. These gardens aren't meant to be walked through quickly. They are meant to be felt. A master gardener might spend years observing a single stone before deciding where to place it. To us, this seems crazy. We have quarterly goals and daily targets, an urgency that burns us out. But the gardener knows that the stone has its own place in the universe, and forcing it to be where it doesn't belong will only create visual and spiritual chaos. This is the wisdom of the active wait. While the gardener observes the stone, he isn't idle. He is refining his own perception. He is waiting for his mind and the nature of the stone to sync up. Think about this in your career or your relationships. Sometimes the most productive action you can take is to do nothing. It's waiting for the pieces to settle, for the situation to ripen. Forcing a decision too early is like trying to pull open a flower bud with your hands. You'll only destroy it. Patience is respecting the natural rhythm of things. The most famous swordsman in history once wrote about the importance of timing in combat. He said there is a time for everything, and that losing because of a lack of patience is the most bitter defeat. In a duel, the impatient warrior is the first to die. Why? Because impatience is predictable. The person who is in a rush to win exposes themselves. They make mistakes and waste energy on unnecessary movements. The patient warrior, on the other hand, watches, keeps his center, and waits for the opponent to defeat themselves through their own anxiety. This applies to your daily conflicts. When someone insults you, when the market crashes, when life deals you an unexpected blow, your first impulse is to hit back immediately. That is the reaction of the impatient. The art of patience asks you to become an observer of your own anger. Patience gives you the strategic advantage of clarity. While everyone else is blinded by urgency and fear, you are evaluating the terrain. Waiting isn't being a coward, it's being smart. It's knowing that the right moment is worth more than 1,000 rushed moves. Sometimes impatience is born because we look at the entire mountain and feel overwhelmed by how far away the peak is. We want to be up there now. The concept of continuous small steps is the answer to this anxiety. It's about falling in love with the process, not just the result. If you focus on getting just 1% better every day, patience stops being a burden. Why? Because you're no longer waiting for some big future event to be happy. Your satisfaction comes from the tiny progress you made today. Active patience is the sum of these small wins. A blacksmith making a legendary blade spends weeks folding the metal thousands of times. He doesn't think about the final battle. He thinks about the hammer strike he is making at this exact second. If you can break your ambition down into small daily doses of excellence, time stops being your enemy. Waiting becomes practice. And before you know it, the mountain is behind you. Not because you ran toward it, but because you never stopped walking calmly. In the West, we plan for next month. In other cultures, there are companies and temples that have 100-year plans. This perspective totally changes your relationship with stress. When you think in decades and not in days, today's problems lose their power to destroy you. That criticism you received, that mistake you made, that delay in your project, in the light of an entire lifetime, they are just small ripples in the water. Having a long-term vision is the highest form of patience. It allows you to stay consistent when everyone else quits. It allows you to stay cool when everyone else panics. Real things, a forest, a cathedral, a reputation, true mastery, all take time. Are you building something for today, or are you building something that lasts? If you seek the eternal, the rush disappears on its own. Patience is the faith that your persistent effort, added to time, is the most powerful force in the universe. In the end, impatience is a form of distrust. We don't trust our own abilities. We don't trust the process. And above all, we don't trust that life will give us what we need when we are ready to receive it. Practicing active patience is learning to trust again. It's understanding that you aren't a victim of time, but a participant in its flow. Look at your hands. Look at where you are right now. Maybe it's not where you dreamed you'd be at this age. Maybe you feel like you're running late. But nature doesn't know what late means. One tree isn't late compared to another. Each has its own spring. This wisdom doesn't ask you to stop dreaming or working hard. It asks you to let go of the anxiety over the when. It asks you to put your heart under the edge of the blade and still be able to smile. Because the person who masters their impatience has mastered their destiny. Tomorrow, the world will try to push you again. It will tell you that you're going too slow, that others are achieving more, that you should be somewhere else. In that moment, remember the bamboo. Remember the gardener. Take a deep breath and reclaim your right to wait. Not as an act of weakness, but as an act of power. Time isn't something slipping away from you. It's the canvas you are painting your life on. And the greatest masterpieces are never finished in a day. Thank you for allowing yourself this moment of stillness. I hope these words stay with you the next time you feel like the world is moving too fast. If you found a moment of peace in this reflection, share your own experience with patience in the comments. Sometimes knowing that others are also learning how to wait is the comfort we need. Until next time, learn to wait, because what comes to you calmly comes to stay.